you guys have anything to say about how horse racing can grow in the state?
There's the introduction, huh? Let's go. Hey, thank you all for coming out and visiting a little bit. My name's Sam Bregman, obviously. I'm the district attorney up in Albuquerque. I'm running for governor. I have known many of you in my role as chairman of the Racing Commission not too long ago. And now I know that I should recognize one of the commissioners here, Mr. Smith, is here. The second best chairman of the Racing Commission ever. Kidding you. But hey, listen, I just wanted to visit with everybody and take this opportunity because I try never to miss this race, the Sunland Derby. I love horse racing. I think you all probably know a little bit about my history, but if you don't, let me tell you real quick. When I was 17 years old, which was a long time ago, as you can see, I moved out here to New Mexico to play baseball for the Lobos. But when I was a young kid, I grew up back east, and my grandfather used to take me to Pimlico and Laurel and Bowie and those racetracks, and I spent my younger days, my dad would drop me off at the front of the school, and I'd walk to the back of the school, and my grandfather, on it just about every Friday when I wasn't playing baseball or football, I'd walk out the back of the school at 8 o'clock in the morning. My grandfather would take me to Pimlico and say, "You'll learn more with me here at this racetrack than anywhere else in that schoolhouse." Well, my love of horse racing goes way back, and now, you know, we've been blessed. Some of you all know about my son. My son's a Major League Baseball player, and he loves the horse racing too because we passed it down to him. When I used to drop my son off, Alex, at school, he used to walk to the back of the school where my dad would be there, picking him up and taking him to the racetrack out in Albuquerque. So we've passed this love of horse racing down from one generation to the next. This is a special industry, and the impact that it has on New Mexico is huge, and I know that. And I know that there's a lot of issues involved in horse racing, and I dealt with many of them on the Racing Commission, but I know this: we got to do everything we can to make this industry continue to thrive and flourish. And I mean that because I love the industry. I also know the economic impact it has on this state. It's huge, to say the least. It is huge. And I don't need to talk too much about the politics of this race, but I'll just tell you, the choice when it comes to horse racing is pretty stark. About my opponent in the Democratic primary, I don't know that she's been to racetrack or horse racing much, but I will tell you this: I don't think there's another person running right now, Republican or Democrat, that loves this industry more and recognizes the impact it has on not just the state and not just economically, but the individuals that are all involved in it, like you are. So I wanted to come and hear out things, and some of you didn't like my tenure on the Racing Commission. I accept that, and I'm a man of integrity, and I want you guys to tell me all the things you want to today. I want to give you that opportunity because I think it's important that I hear this. I'm going to go win this race, and this industry is extremely important to the future of New Mexico. So any ideas, any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. So I'm more than willing to answer questions from any of you all. And this looks like one tough crowd compared to the crowds I go around the state and talk to. But I would love to hear from anybody. Does anybody have any questions of me? Because I think it's probably the most beneficial thing I can do is listen and hear what some of y'all's concerns are and go from there. And any thoughts?
You realize that we're the only state in the nation.
I'm sorry?
Thoroughbred, we have no representation in the state. The thoroughbred industry has done. We'd like you to recognize the New Mexico Horsemen Association. You stop it, start it.
Okay. So, right, and so and I think you're referring to when I was on the commission.
That's right.
And those issues, yes. And specifically that the 1%, if you will, and all of that, those issues kind of bubbled up to the surface, and I understand that. And there has been lawsuits about the horsemen against the commission countersuing. I know all that. And someone who knows litigation for my whole life, I understand that litigation usually doesn't do any good for anybody, right? I get that. Sometimes you have to do it for regardless of various reasons. I I love thoroughbred racing. I think it's wonderful. I think it's fantastic. We have horses that run at tracks across this country. The family does. I get that. I think that's extremely important. And it's not a matter of not recognizing thoroughbred racing. I think thoroughbred racing is really, really important. And I want to continue to see us horse racing in every capacity continue to grow. We are facing, as you know, better than anybody, all of you know, real challenges in this state. Whether or not, I mean, we don't have to look past Briodoso right now with all the problems it has right now, with that track gone, right? I get it. And so I'm more than willing and want to help in any way I can. I will tell you that the legislature and the executive need to focus again on horse racing and make sure we're doing the kind of things that are going to work for the industry, and look not just to the next set of race days, but look to the future, years out. What are we doing to make sure this industry continues to thrive? So I'm fine with that. Absolutely fine with it, sir.
So you know me, I'm Peter Armstrong. So I have two serious issues with when we were on the commission. One in particular was de-recognizing the horsemen. We might have thoroughbreds, but we don't have anybody to represent us, but we don't have anything, right? We've got to have a say at the racetrack. We have money invested, millions of dollars invested in our horses. And I want the tracks to understand that and realize that, and you to understand that. This is not a game, this is a business for a lot of us, right?
Absolutely.
So we got to have a seat at the table when these issues come up, right? So we need to be re-recognized. I think Mr. Smith has got a meeting set up next week to try to get all this started or finished again, get the horsemen back recognized, get the signal back on for everybody, racetracks and horsemen, which is good. The other thing that really hurt us was we lost 98 race days when you were the head of the commission, right? We've got to have more opportunities to run in this state. If we're going to get horses to come back to New Mexico, we've got to have more opportunities for them to run. We're not going to come and run 2 days a week and bring a large stable, right? There's not enough opportunity here. And the meet being too short, we don't get our horses in enough before we have to move to another track. We lose our dates, we start all over. So if you've got a thoroughbred race horse and you want to run him 8 or 10 times a year, right now we'll get you to run him 4 times. But the numbers don't match. You can't run a horse 4 times. You get 1 or 2 bad breaks, you don't get enough money out of this industry if you don't get to run the horses longer. So please recognize that the meets need to be longer, the tracks need to bring the dates back, so we have opportunities to run year round, and we'll move around the track, but we don't want to move 7 times. 2 or 3 times is enough. So please help us get more race days back, and we recognize the horsemen.
Yes, and you know, there's this whole give and take and push, and I understand actually both sides of this argument about more race days, and then there's the concern about there's not enough horse flesh, then there's the concern about the purses aren't big enough on a daily basis. I get that back and forth. What I really want to do, what I think makes a lot of sense, is really put everybody in a room. And I mean racing commission, and I mean track owners, and I mean horsemen, and I mean breeders, and I mean put everybody in a room and really talk, really discuss, not shout at each other, but just talk and to one another, not past each other, but to each other about what we can do to make racing better. Whether or not it's more dates, whether or not it's how do we increase the purses, how do we make sure that people are running for things that make sense, how do we make sure that in this day and age, with all the online betting and all the casino betting, that we're getting people into the stands, right? I mean, that's part of this, and I get that. But I think we need to put everybody in a room and start talking about this in a much more comprehensive way. And listen, when I took over the commission, there was 1 lawsuit already filed. And I'm partially to blame for this, as far as going back and forth with lawsuits and everything else. And we just got to a point where nobody was talking to anybody, and we were talking past each other. I think when I become your next governor, I want to switch that, and I want to make sure that we're starting to talk to each other. And I'm all for that, Mr. Smith.
So we have a meeting on Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Appeals and all. We'll have all this fixed before your election. We'll have the signal back. We'll have the horsemen. It's a fact that the commission cannot recognize or de-recognize horsemen. The horsemen deal with the tracks. We're just the go-between. We don't have anything to do with that. That's what we're meeting about on Tuesday. Make sure that the horsemen make a deal with the tracks that are involved right now. Sunland is with them, Zia Park is with them. We never intervened. We have no right to intervene. Each track has the right to do what they want to do. We can't make them do anything. Now, the people involved in this meeting will bring them all in forward because Blanchard is in this meeting and he controls 2 of the tracks that are in it. Albuquerque and the new Clovis. So all this will be fixed before election comes around. I assure you that I will not leave that room without a deal.
What about Ruidoso?
Ruidoso, what we're doing right now is we're tracking the money. The governor gave X dollar to the city and the county. They can't give it directly to a racetrack because that's the NMRC donation fund. So we're meeting with the governor, finding out how much we earmark to put Ruidoso back on. Now, we got 3 years to do this, right? We got 3 years because we're going to have a, what you call a force majeure order come out. So we can run these days at a different track for 3 years, up to 3 years. We will get it done. I mean, now there's no, I can't guarantee that, but I bet my offer on it because if I have to, I'll resign from the commission and get involved financially with putting that track back. That's how much Ruidoso means to me. Ruidoso, I don't care if it's quarter horses, thoroughbreds, what it is. Without Ruidoso, it really, really hurts the state.
We do care though. We do care if it's quarters or thoroughbreds.
Well, I mean, I know you do, but when it gets built back, it's going to be probably a 7 furlong track. They'll be able to run thoroughbreds, but 6.5, 6, 5.5. Now we can't make them run thoroughbreds, but we can strongly suggest it. And it's not impossible. When Ruidoso gets back online, it'll have new ownership. So that's when you guys,
You know,
go ahead.
pardon me, the St. Springs Committee. I attended the racing commission back when Eddie Feller was on, and it was an open venue. They had owners, trainers, everybody. Now, you close the thing. You won't even let anybody speak. You make all your decisions in executive sessions. How can you say one thing and do the other?
That's what we're meeting on Tuesday. We're going to have a seat at the table, just like the Breeders Association is. We're going to sit at the table every meeting.
What
Go ahead.
What are our horsemen going to do this summer? Where are they going to go? The thoroughbreds. They don't have anywhere to go.
They're going to go to Albuquerque. Albuquerque is going to run Ruidoso Meet, which starts Memorial Day. They're going to run thoroughbreds and quarter horses. I've got that commitment from Blanchard. And there again, it depends on you guys how many thoroughbreds you show up with, how many gets run.
Why was the horseman not recognized? What made that happen?
There was a lot of, listen, I don't want to relive every bit of it, but there was a lot of lawsuits back and forth. And this is not, it's not a comment now, but the lawsuits against the horsemen, they sued saying that the racing commission was improperly skimming money off for jockeys' insurance. The racing commission sued back, saying that there was no right to take money out of people's purse winnings without even letting them make that decision on their own. There was that back and forth. There was points where literally we'd come to an agreement in a room, and then literally within 24 hours, the horseman or some other entity would say, "Never mind, we're blowing it up again." And it was a very, very frustrating situation. And at the time, there were some people within the Horsemen's Association, quite frankly, that were just not willing to work and follow through on things they were saying. So it was just, we wanted to see something else happen here as far as the horsemen. But it's very clear, the one thing I will tell you is that it's not a matter of unrecognizing the horsemen. And what I think certain people figured was that was just an unrecognized of what you all do, what you all stand for, what you all mean. It was more about the association at the time, and I don't know who's here that was involved in the leadership of the association at that time, but it was a very dysfunctional stuff. We couldn't count on anybody's follow through on anything when they said we'll agree to this, and then they turn around the next day and they completely blow it up. It was a very big concern. So I want to put all that in the past. And I will tell you, as your next governor, I will have the opportunity to put the parties together in a room. And put the parties together in a room in a conducive way to get things done for the industry overall. That's what I want to accomplish. And I think that's where my head is. That's where I want to see this. I cannot tell you anything worse. I perceive things. To think that the horse racing industry will not be here long into the future. But we've got real challenges here. We don't have the same amount of spectators we used to have for this sport. We all know that. You don't have to be my age to remember in the 80s and the 90s, the tracks were full of people all the time. Of course, gambling has changed dramatically. So we have to be creative on that. So it was more about the Horsemen's Association, about those issues back in that day. And now I want to move past that and figure out how we can get things done in a better way.
And review, have a new commission?
How about a full commission?
I think that's the most important thing that I need is we need 5 members on the commission.
Yes.
I very much want to do that. I know the commissioners on there right now, and I respect the hell out of them. And you guys may disagree with me, but I respect the hell out of the current 3 members on that commission. But I do believe we need to fill it out, of course. There's reason for 5
And the
members.
commission wants the 5 commissioners.
We need
It's
it.
not us that's stopping that, believe me.
Would the governor want?
I don't know what's going on there. And that's not the only commission or board in the state that needs to be revamped or filled in. That's something that really desperately needs to happen. Not just the racing commission, but all of our commissions across the state.
I think the spectators is the reason why they're not coming to the races is a lot of it's management. When you go to Old Town Park, Hot Springs, and you ride a horse, they welcome you. The town welcomes you. They love horse racing. The people at the racetrack love it. And they welcome you. And in New Mexico, they don't do that anymore. It's not welcoming.
Well, okay. And so how do we solve that? I mean, what is it about the people of New Mexico that aren't supporting this racetrack or these races? What's that?
You need to advertise. You need to have longer days.
You guys mentioned that the commission doesn't have anything to do with what the tracks do. I thought that's why the commission, that was their purpose, was to oversee, make sure the tracks are operating properly.
They are to regulate them, but I don't think anybody wants government to start telling private business how to advertise and how to do things like that. That's something that I don't.
Like Zio Park's going from 3 months to a month and a half and just dumping the money as fast as it can so they don't have to put out any maintenance costs.
Well, the number of days is set by the Racing Commission. I will agree 100% with you on that. But having the commission start telling tracks how to run their business is not something that I think government should be doing. How to run specifically, where to advertise or how to advertise or things like that. I don't believe that government should do something like that. I'm very pro-business. I want people to be able to flourish in whatever business they're in. And I don't think government usually doesn't get it right when they start telling businesses how to run their business. Now, that's not to say that they're not supposed to regulate. That's exactly what the Racing Commission is there for, is it's the regulatory agency, and we should be doing that. So,
I think when the commission allowed the tracks to cut that many days they cut, I think they got real brave. And when they didn't have to talk to the horsemen anymore about anything, they got braver, right? So we just kept getting farther and farther pushed away from any say-so or any meetings. And I think the commission can bring that back if we'll fill the commission for one, and then tell the tracks that these are your days, right? They can apply for days, and you guys, or the commission will, assign days, right? Not that it seemed like to us that the tracks were telling you what they wanted to do, and you guys were taking it because you didn't get to hear from us. You only heard from them. And I think you heard our side of the story. You would understand better that wasn't the right way. We think we have a better way, but I like your idea about us getting together and talking so we can fix what's wrong between the tracks and the horses.
So let me say this. I'm not gonna rehash all of that, but I will say that, yes, it got to the point when I was chair of the Racing Commission that the only thing that was breaking through from the New Mexico Horsemen's Association was, we're gonna sue you, and that was the one thing breaking through, and of course, at some point, you gotta say, we can't even discuss it because these issues come up and and there's not lawyers involved. Here's what's gonna change them. And I'm committed to this, 100%. I'm glad you're tape recording, I'm glad you're tape recording. Because I'm 100% committed to this. Regardless of what happens next week, and I hope we'll get some really great results out of that, Commissioner, I really do. I am, as your next governor, gonna sit down right away with this entire industry. And we're gonna talk about it all. And we're gonna listen. We're gonna listen, okay? The people that work for me are gonna listen. And we're gonna get this industry back on its feet, moving in the right direction. Billy?
Yeah, really, the commission had nothing to do with the organization. It's PETA. They're really powerful in Santa Fe. Don't think they're not. They're extremely powerful. Go up there during the session, 3 days a week, they're in the rotunda. They're
But Billy,
really
that
powerful.
was never mentioned in the commission meetings. Peter was never brought up to us in the
Well,
commission meetings.
it wasn't.
The days were gone.
I'm telling you, that's what caused it, okay?
And you didn't tell us. Look, because we
Peter
knew
was
that.
a
Nobody
major
said that to
donor
us.
for some of the past
Okay.
governors.
And I really want to focus going forward, okay? I'm sorry, we could rehash the past, and we can keep doing that, but I don't think that gets us, any of us, where we need to go.
There's other states that are flourishing, ours is in a constant decline for the last 25 years that I've been.
What states are flourishing?
Wyoming, Arkansas, New York,
They
Louisiana.
can't touch us.
Kentucky.
We got more purse money than any state in the country. If we can't make that
We used to
work,
have 2,000 more horses in the local area that are all gone.
that's right.
Everybody had to move out of here.
You're right. You're right about that.
And we're
That
just-
has nothing to
because
do
there's
with
no
us.
races. We have horses, we have no races.
We
There
need
was
more
an A race a
thoroughbred
couple
race
days
days.
ago, a thoroughbred race, it got 25 entries. We have lots of horses and no racing.
I think that's the biggest thing is we need more thoroughbred racing. That
We used to run
90% of the people in this room are thoroughbred people and they've invested all in thoroughbred.
We used to run two-year-old thoroughbreds at Sunland Park and Farmington and Ruidoso. Now we don't run any of that. We don't run till September in Albuquerque.
You know, I don't think you can fix a problem if you can't identify a problem. And our problem is the owners of these racetracks don't want to race. Period. And that's why we can't attract fans or make the industry grow. They want out of the horse racing business and in the casino business. And a casino is a lie. We don't have any casinos at racetracks. We have racing, okay? And that's all those people want to do. They want bean counters in there and low-wage employees that they can run their casino. They don't want anything to do with racing because it takes expertise to do that. And you've got to pay. You've got to pay good money for people to run in and manage the racetrack. These people want out of that business and they're doing all they can to get out.
Sure, exactly.
Okay?
Those casinos provide 95% of your purse money.
But we don't get to see, every time we ask for an audit to see what money is being made, we're not allowed to see it.
All you gotta do is call the Game and Control Board. There's
It's
audited
public
every
information
month.
about how much money the casinos bring in. That is absolutely public information. I do want to say that, and I do also, I understand what you're saying, sir, but at the same time, we do get 95% of our purses come from the casino money. So we have to have the casinos, or we don't have any racing. Does anybody disagree with that?
These are not casinos, they're slots farming.
Whatever it might be. So say it's slots. I understand the gaming compacts. I understand all of that. Okay, but what is funding? It's not the fans funding the bettors at the track funding these purses. it is the money coming out of the slots, if you want to just be more specific, the slots, right? That's where the money is coming from. So I know that, I don't know if you really meant to say, or that you didn't say it, but I don't know if you're inferring that maybe the casino, less emphasis on the casinos. The casinos are funding much of the purses that the horse racing industry runs for.
And they can't.
You know,
But
it's
let's bring
amazing to me
let's
that-
bring in a few general managers that know how to run an operation and get fans in the door. Let's do night racing here and get the crowds back.
I hear what you're saying, but again, the government should not be telling private business who they're hiring as their general managers. They should let businesses figure out how to make money. That's what businesses are supposed to do.
We can all work together to make it happen.
That's why I'm talking about putting the industry together in a big way, all of us, so that those opportunities are there. And I'm going to tell you something: if you have a governor sitting at the table, you bet the racetracks are going to be expected to listen to your concerns. That's exactly what we're talking about. You can express that all day long to them, that you need to put in, but I don't think it's the position of the government to mandate who someone's hiring. That is not, in my idea, what government should be doing. Yes, ma'am.
Sandy McKenna. It's pretty obvious that back when our commission recognized the Horsemen's Association, and we had a seat at the table at that time, whether or not the commission was actually going to act on anything we said, we still had the opportunity to voice our opinion when management of these racinos was sitting there in the room. And they had to hear it, and it did become a part of public record. Once we lost our voice, that's it. And if you really want to fix racing in New Mexico, there are only 2 states in the union that do not have divided race meets. A thoroughbred race meet and a quarter horse race meet at each track. That's Arizona and New Mexico. And we will not attract outside horses to fill these races until we get these race meets separated. It doesn't matter how they're separated, we'll all go along with it. Everybody would go along with it because it's a whole lot better circumstance for getting horses in here and giving us an opportunity to race.
So you're saying separate meets?
Separate meets.
Once they're separate, you will get so many people come back to New Mexico.
Yes.
Logistically, why that's important is because there's not enough stalls on a racetrack to house enough horses when you run quarter horses and thoroughbreds. We have 1,500 stalls. We could probably put 2,500 horses in here. But if you need 12 or 1,300 for quarter horses and 12 or 1,300 for thoroughbreds to run a meet, there's not enough room. So logistically, it makes sense to split them just because there's not enough stalls at each racetrack to manage both quarter horse and thoroughbred.
Sir.
Yes, my name is Bart Holmes. I would like to get to the funding of the New Mexico Horsemen's Association. I believe it was you that said, we're going to defund you. We're going to take all your money away. And I know you race in other jurisdictions. And we belong to the national HPBA. So does those other jurisdictions. And so that means you are donating just like the money you took away from us. You're donating in Kentucky, you're donating in these other jurisdictions. But yet we don't have no financing them. What will you do about that?
Just to be clear though, I don't think there's another jurisdiction whatsoever that makes it an opt-out 1% to any Horsemen's Association anywhere else in the country. That was a very
Are you sure about
unique.
that?
Yes, that was a very unique. At least I was 2 years ago. I haven't checked it recently. That was a very unique situation where just because you entered a horse, whether you didn't have to agree to it or anything, they took 1% out of your purse money to give to the Horsemen's Association.
How much?
So I don't want to do back and forth. I will. I'll let you follow up with it. But my point is this, that's been recognized by the courts because that's what happened. All these court hearings, the Racing Commission, regardless of how you feel about it, was recognized by the courts as being right legally on that. Right, correct on that. And we offered all kinds of compromises. And we thought we had a deal with the Horsemen's Association, and after we cut the deal 24 hours later, they said, F you. And that's why we kept going in court, and eventually a judge ruled that we were correct. The Racing Commission was correct because it wasn't legal what was happening. So that's why, and I'm gonna give you the chance. That's why we ended up with that situation. So, but let's get past, and again, I wanna get past that. We can fight about that all day long, but it's already been litigated in the courtroom.
So how, when you run a horse in Kentucky and the horse runs, is there a dollar amount that is given to the Kentucky HPPA?
I don't think it's based on that. I think it's based on another way they receive their money. I don't think it's based on the purse coming out of the purse. I think it's an opt-in, not an opt-out. And you understand the difference between that. That's the difference. Everybody else is, if there is something along these lines, it's an opt-in, not an opt-out. That was the difference. And that was one of the problems under New Mexico law and the New Mexico Constitution. That's why that whole issue was litigated. So, again, let's figure out how to get the Horsemen's Association back up on its feet, if you will.
Was the money coming out of the horsemen's purse money?
Yes.
Or coming from the
From
man?
donations.
Was it coming from the horsemen?
It was coming out of someone's, that if you're a trainer, and you used to run, Billy, you correct me if I'm wrong, you used to
It comes
run.
out of the owner's account?
It came out of the Horseman's account
Did the
before, and they had to opt out if they didn't know it. Some people would come in, they didn't even know anybody was taking the money from them because it would come out before they'd ever get a disbursement check. That's correct, and they didn't even know.
So
Many
the
of them.
horsemen were the ones wanting to cancel it?
The state law basically said you can't do that. And
Even
that's
though-
what that
even though-
fight was.
Even though the horsemen are for it, they say the horsemen can't do it.
No, the state law was already in place, and that's what was fought about in the litigation between the two. Yes, because people were caused, although many of you, I'm sure, wanted that 1% going into the Horsemen's Association, there are some horsemen that didn't want the 1% going in, and they didn't even know about it. People were asking, I didn't realize they were taking 1% from me. They never realized it. So that's what that litigation was about. But again, we need to, the horsemen and everybody at a table need to figure out how they could go back to funding it appropriately and legally, the Horsemen's Association. I have no problem with the Horsemen's Association. I have no problem with that at all. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
In the meeting, we gotta figure out how it's gonna get funded.
How do what?
In the meeting, we have figured out how we're gonna get it funded.
Sir.
One of the problems I think we've been going through the last few years is credibility. Credibility from the Racing Commission and the New Mexico Horse Breeders Association, all of the entities involved, the racetracks. Nobody believed anybody, nobody believed anybody was honest or anything else. And that's one of the things that I think, as a perception from my point of view, from where I stand, nobody believed in any of that from anybody coming from anywhere.
There's no doubt that I completely 100% agree. The tracks don't trust the horsemen don't trust the tracks, and nobody trusts the Racing Commission.
But the horsemen want to trust you guys.
And I know, and I get
love
that,
racing.
and that's why I'm trying to get this fresh start going. That's why I'm standing here today, because I want to see a fresh start on this year. I want people to start trusting people, and I want us to be transparent as much as we possibly can. I mean, that is really important. Transparency makes a big difference, and regardless of whether or not you like a decision made by the commission or made by anybody, if it's transparent, you feel like it's transparent, you feel like your voice was heard, then it's a lot easier to swallow than if it doesn't, if you don't feel that way. And I get that, 100%. Sir, I think you're right. There was no trust, and we need to build that back up amongst all the parties, amongst everybody.
We need to correct that.
And look, one way to do it is, you guys can do what you want, obviously, but one way of doing it is build up that trust that at least you know I'm here, wanting to hear people. And I am sure when I leave here, within 20 minutes, someone's gonna go up on social media and shit all over me. It's okay, that's fine, I get that. But we need to build trust up, we really do. Yes, sir.
I think a lot of people are forgetting the New Mexico Horsemen's Association was built back in 66 or
Yeah.
something like that. I was just a kid then, I'm not now. But I mean, it was built when I was a kid. I got eyeglasses, I got dental in there. That's why that was built, and that's when they started the $5 takeout for the pony and everything. And then when the casinos came in, is that when the 1% came in? Well, that's our insurance. A lot of people can't understand. We used to get $2,500 a year. Now we're down to $1,500. I mean, for insurance that New Mexico Horsemen Association paid, and that's where a lot of that. A lot of the owners don't understand. They can go over there and get their $1,500. A lot of owners. That's where that money went to.
That's exactly the problem. There's only 10 or 15 people that even knew about that.
Yeah,
If you look at the people that took it, they were all in that door. First of all, it's a state statute that no money comes out of purse money. Nothing. Not $1 comes. State statute, the Game and Control Board. When the horsemen sued, they opened up Pandora's box. And that's what happened. That's why he got put on the commission. And another attorney got on the commission. He was sent there to make sure that the commission wasn't doing anything fraudulent, weren't doing anything wrong. That's why he showed up over there. And when he showed up, we weren't doing anything wrong. When you guys sued, and let me tell you something else. You sued for the $9 million, right? You look at the minutes of the commission. Every month, you agree to pay half the jock insurance. The tracks paid half of it. Mm-hmm. That's where that money went, right? Well, they said all of a sudden that was their money. Every month they came before the commission, said approval to pay for half of it. We gave them the approval to do it. Not me, going back to whenever gaming started. And the horsemen, so the horsemen sued. They hired the wrong guy. They've had some terrible leadership. Terrible leadership. They hired the wrong guy. Then they put a convicted felon on there. He goes to Blanchard and tells him, you're going to do this, or you're going to do this, or I'm going to get your signal turned off 1 track a month. And that's exactly what he did. So now the tracks can't talk to the Horsemen's Board because they got a convicted felon on there. They put their gaming license in jeopardy. I mean, how in the world do you hire a convicted felon that absolutely, now he's in jail for murder? Insurance fraud, he's done it all. Election, trying to afford
You think you get mad at you?
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
When is this meeting? Can we all go, or this meeting you're having Wednesday, you said?
No, that's just gonna be the principals, the people that have a racetrack. Pierre's gonna be there.
So we
He'll
have
be
no
here.
representation up here
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
horsemen?
Yeah, the horsemen got their attorney.
That's what I was
Only
asking.
reason I'm going is because Dr. Jensen
Yeah.
asked me to go.
No, that's good. I just want to know if we had any representation
Yes.
to be at this meeting.
Yeah.
All the,
So does the commission have any say-so on how the money's passed out, thoroughbreds and quarter horses? Do they have any say-so about that, or?
No.
Or the tracks just say, we just, we're just,
I believe, and I might be wrong.
no, it's the racetracks. We have
and
no,
they can just hand it to another track and not have their.
no, they can't do that.
But like when COVID hit and they shut us down here, they gave that money to a different group of horsemen from Oklahoma and Texas and Ruidoso that never lost a new racing. And then
We gave it to
last year,
Oklahoma, is what you're saying?
That really does so.
right here, our purse money from Sunland went to Ruidoso to a group of
To run the
horsemen.
meet, so that was the only track running.
Right, but
Sunland
then they
agreed to-
cancel
Sunland-
races here and give our money to Turner.
Well, you know, give it to them. Sunland did. We didn't do that. The commission
Why?
has no right to do it.
Well, that's why I was asking. I didn't know if the tracks can just pass around money however they felt like it. Because like Ruidoso didn't run thoroughbreds last
And the
year,
answer to that is yes.
but they said this is the most lucrative quarter-horse meet in history. You'll run for the most biggest person you've ever seen, you know? Why the thoroughbred people got kicked out. So I just wondered how all that takes place.
Do we have your commitment to take care of the thoroughbred people as well as the quarter horse people?
I'm hearing you. I can't speak to that directly, because I don't know.
Well, I don't know either, I'm just a Philly stalker.
My biggest thing, do we have your commitment to take care of the thoroughbred people as well as the quarter horse people?
It's horse racing in general. I just heard from everybody here, we need separate meets for quarter horses and separate meets for thoroughbreds. I mean, I think it's the big picture, right? We have to do that.
Yes.
But like when COVID hit, Gerald Martin had 24 head here. And he said, well, we ought to help the people here that got to sit here for 2 months and not race. They said, no, we'll give it to the quarter horse guys from Ruidoso that ran in Oklahoma and Texas that never got shut down for COVID. And so Gerald just said, I'll just quit, you know. He threw his hands up and said, I'm done.
And COVID messed up a lot of things.
But you didn't have to take the money from one horseman group and give it to another.
I don't know
what
what
I'm saying.
I don't know
They're
what
not taking the money.
Well, Sunland did.
Sunland did, that's exactly right. And they can do it.
But they
They can
took it
take
from
that
Gerald Martin,
money,
they gave it to a quarter horse guy from Oklahoma that never stopped running.
and they had the right to do that. But he was running in New Mexico, right? He wasn't running in Oklahoma. He was running in New Mexico, at Ruidoso Downs.
Right.
That was during COVID as
That's when this business really is took a nosedive and crashed ever since COVID, right here at this meeting. The way everything's been, the way all the business has been conducted since then.
Every business in this country took a dive over COVID, and most of them ain't
And then
come back yet.
Zia went from 3 months to a month and a half, and they passed out money out to Ruidoso, quarter horses.
Well, COVID, we got to go to other tracks. We had to leave our state to
Yep.
go to, we went to Dallas, we went to Oklahoma, we went to Arizona.
I'll just put a kind of a cap on this COVID stuff. We had a state government that was very strict on all the restrictions during COVID. I don't think this industry obviously suffered from that, but I don't think this industry was singled out. Every business in this state was screwed up because of COVID.
They told me I couldn't go fishing in the mountains.
What's that?
They told me I couldn't go fishing in the mountains. I took my kids fishing in Santa Fe to get away from the million sick people in Albuquerque, and the ranger come and said, I'm gonna arrest you if you don't put your mask on. And you couldn't go camping out there. You had to go back to the city to the sick people. So I mean, who was making those kind of rules?
It wasn't me.
It wasn't the commission.
And it wasn't the racing commission that was making you wear a mask when you were fishing.
And
I mean, they should be blamed for a lot of shit. I'm pointing to him now. But they didn't put a mask on you when you were
The
fishing.
stallman told me I had. Yeah, they did.
Well, not the racing commission did.
No, but the governor did. So
All right, okay.
I was asking you your opinion on that kind of government.
Well, hindsight's 20/20 right now. I mean, hindsight, I could tell you that we cracked down a little bit hard. That's hindsight, though, right? That's hindsight.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, I think, she was dealing with the best thing that she could do, whether or not you agree with it or not. Whether or not you agree with it or not, she was trying her best. I don't think there's a lack of. I don't think at any time anybody can say she didn't care. She cared, and we can look back at 20/20 hindsight and say this or that. That's part of life. I get it, but hindsight is 20/20, and we can all look back and see things that we wish hadn't happened. Let me refocus a little bit for this meeting and just talk about the following, and then I'm happy to stick around and answer questions until the first race starts. I want to see this industry succeed. I say that for lots of reasons as I opened up. It's because of the people involved in this industry. It's because of the fiscal impact it has for the state. Because I love this industry. I think it's an amazing thing that more people should be involved in. It gives opportunities to people. So I want to see us move forward. I know that we've had some rough days in the past when I was on the commission and otherwise, but let's do our best to move forward, and the most important thing to me is let's really be talking to each other, not talking around people, let's just have these conversations. And I am committed to you, and I've told you this, that I'm happy to put everybody in a room in this industry and all the representatives that we think needs to be, and have an all-day meeting about how we can improve horse racing. And I will make sure that the powers that be listen to that. And that's as good a commitment as I can make right now. I'm not going to tell you that I have the magic wand to fix this industry and its challenges, but I can tell you I have the internal fortitude to try my hardest to get it done. Yes, ma'am.
So, we are breeders and we're owners and.
Say that again?
I said, we are breeders. We have sons, we have mares, we have babies.
Yeah.
Greg's a trainer. We have a son that's 20 years old. And when Greg was assistant for Bart, he was 3 years old and knew every horse in the world. He could bark and move the horses around and he could go and tell you where the horses are. Now he wants to follow in the family business. But they only give him a groom's license. They don't give him an assistant trainer license.
For some reason, they're discouraging licensing people here as a trainer. So, like, to get a trainer's license, you gotta go to Arkansas, because they ain't gonna give you one here.
So we went to Arkansas.
They'll say, we'll come back in 5 years, we'll talk about it, for no reason. And we don't understand why they're discouraging racing here. Trying to discourage trainers.
Who's telling you that?
The racing
No,
commission.
Lisa told him that she was not
The racing
giving
commission and the
out
license
any more
office.
license. So he went to.
That day, probably.
Huh?
No, not that day. They say we're not giving out any, come back in 5 years maybe. That's not just my son, that's Antonio Gonzalez. It's a really good kid.
How old are your son?
He's
My
20.
kid's 20.
But he's got an assistant
But
license.
he went to Arkansas and got one in 3 days. They gave him the test and he passed it, and he's my assistant in Arkansas. But here they won't give you a license. Same with the other guy.
The same thing happened to me when I was a kid as well.
But for some reason, they're trying to discourage young people in the business in the state. I don't understand.
Is he taking the test? Is he taking?
They won't
They
give him
won't
one.
give
They
him
won't
the
give him
test. He's
one.
asked. He's asked for the test. They won't give
Well,
him
I'll
the
check
test.
into that.
That really needs
Not
to be
be-
checked into.
Not
because
just him, there's a lot of
People are going out of state to get licensed because you can't get a
And
license.
then you come back here and they say, well, you didn't run 6 horses in the last 2 months, so we're not gonna recognize your Arkansas trainer's license. Because they don't fit our criteria.
Not to be
I will
But Lisa,
address
Is
that.
it-
used to get things from Lisa if.
Lisa is a problem.
Certain things. And my son's
They're,
not
they're,
going to do
they're,
that
they're,
to get
they
his
said
license.
that people were paying for licenses for a lot of years here. That couldn't pass the test, they just passed money up, but I don't know if that's true. But anyway, there's people that are having trouble getting licensed.
That's something that can be brought up, and I think you just brought it up to a person that can look into it, right there. Thank you guys for coming out. I appreciate having that discussion, I truly do. Don't think that you guys are gonna, I know you may not leave fulfilled with, well, he's answered all of our questions the right way. I don't expect that. I just expect you to know that I'm gonna be open to discussing things all the time. Yes, sir.
I appreciate you coming here and standing up in front of everybody today. The best thing I heard was getting everybody involved from all parts of the industry, breeders, horsemen, trainers, track ownership, racing commission. Those are the people that need to be at a table together. And we need to move forward, people, and not start talking about stuff that happened years ago. There's people that are gone and dead and deceased. Decisions were made without our knowledge, what have you. We need to look forward and be positive.
Now,
Because, now it's dire.
because.
I'm telling you right now, from where I stand as the breeder here in the state, things are dire. And we're at a tipping point. And we can run around and be bitch and moan and point fingers at everybody. We're not gonna get anywhere. We gotta communicate. We gotta get to a table. We gotta talk as human, cordial to each other with the track management, with the commission. We need to stop this lawsuit shit. I don't want to do any business with anybody who's got me, wants to take me to court. They can go breed somewhere else. So that's just a bad freaking environment. Lawsuits are no good for anybody but the lawyers. And that's the last straw should be going to court.
Do you know how much money's made by sending our signal out of state? By HISA for needing HISA? What's the need for HISA? If you guys say all of our money's made from the casino, you say 95% of our purse money comes from the casino. What percent comes from sending our signal out of state that we need HISA?
Very little, but
Because HISA has really not done us any favors.
no, I agree with that.
It's hassle.
And I'm not a
after
HISA fan. Believe me, I'm on the team to get rid of them.
But
I
what's it
said,
gonna- what-
HISA's hurt your court third with you worse than anybody.
Does the commission have anything to do with that? Or
No,
is it
sir,
only
we
the
do not.
tracks?
So it's
Now,
just the tracks? Because Farmington, we didn't have high school.
Well, that's
And we
because you
didn't-
didn't run any thoroughbreds, or you,
No, we ran
no,
thoroughbreds.
They never
We
opted
ran
in.
Okay,
thoroughbreds,
wait a
they
minute.
didn't opt in.
what they did, you can get around HISA if you don't send your signal out.
Yeah.
That's what they did. They didn't send their signal out, so they don't have to, they didn't send the signal across state lines. They sent it to Albuquerque. If you don't send your signal across state lines,
So it's the track's choice, not
It's
the
a-
commission.
Hold on 1 second. Thank you.
My name's Dan Carter. A lot of people don't know Dan Carter, but I am Joanne's husband. Now you know who I am. Fred Alexander, dear friend of mine, good horseman. And I underscore everything that he just said to this group. It's unification. It is not diversification. We must love one another and come together and unify. Let's don't diversify. Hate and greed is not good for any of us. But Fred, thank you for those wonderful comments.
Fred's gonna be at that meeting too. He's involved in that meeting.
I appreciate Sam for starting this right here today. It's a step in the right direction. It has to, the 1,000-mile journey begins with the first step, and that started right here today.
That's right.
Thank you.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
I can honestly tell you, I stepped away from the business. 3 generations on both sides of my family. I stepped away during COVID because it was a shit show. But I can honestly tell you, every person in this room is a good, hardworking. They're very defensive because they felt like they've been done wrong, but they are genuine, wonderful people. So I just want to say that.
Thank you, Kathy.
Now I have her as my blessing. She works for me.
Thanks for deserting us.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate you. Thank you.